Alright, what's going on, guys? Trev back again, here to bring you another video. This one's going to be doing another Walking Dead video leading up to the second half of The Walking Dead Season 8. In this one, we're going to give our thoughts on Andrew Lincoln's contract expiring after Season 8 and whether or not we think he will leave The Walking Dead. Alright, and spoiler warning, of course, if you're not caught up for The Walking Dead, which is up to the mid-season finale for Season 8. And if you guys haven't seen it, we've done tons of videos this week, even more than usual, for Walking Dead after that crazy mid-season finale. There's just so much to talk about. Lots of articles coming out, interviews. We got one here with Andrew Lincoln, who, of course, plays Rick after the mid-season finale, and just all kinds of new information that really, it's whether this means that the show is starting to get close to wrapping up, or whether or not this means that they just decided to do something kind of throwing a big twist. Either way, whatever the case may be, it sure has been exciting and lots of fun to comment on with you guys and talk about with you guys. So lots of videos on the channel. If you missed the one where Chandler Riggs mentioned there could be possibly just 3 seasons left or a few seasons left, which would bring us up to about season 10. That video's on the channel. If you missed that one, you definitely want to check out, because The Walking Dead could be, getting close according to his comments. We did another one for, just lots this week on discussing it, explaining the character death in the mid-season finale, whether or not it was Chandler Riggs' choice to leave. It wasn't. So lots of stuff in the channel for you guys to check through why they decided to do that. Was it because, the show's losing popularity? Was it because of the story? Video on that yesterday. So lots of stuff this week you guys can check out on the channel. After you're done this one, check the end screen videos. Click another one if you want to see one of those. So in this one, we're going to give our thoughts whether or not we think Andrew Lincoln is going to stay with The Walking Dead, or whether or not his time in the show is starting to come to an end. This is a tricky thing. Of course, The Walking Dead is in its 8th straight season. They have not taken a year hiatus. They have not taken a year break. They have not delayed, like, for example, Game of Thrones, Stranger Things, they're going to be delaying kind of 1 year further, so they're kind of taking a break year or half a break year and then filming and releasing it the next year. The Walking Dead has never done that. The Walking Dead has been 16 episodes straight through, some extended episodes, bringing the heat every year, whether you love it or hate it, whatever the case may be. They're showing up, they're showing up to work. They're putting in the work. They're producing, this series for us, and brings in some, big questions for whether or not they can keep doing it, whether or not they want to keep doing it, whether or not the people involved they're going to have replacements for those who, after a decade, may want to decide to move on and do other things. Just what they're going to do. Of course, with the killing of Carl in The Walking Dead Season 8's mid-season finale, it opens up a lot of questions of, what if Andrew Lincoln wants to leave? You don't really have that other character, Carl, there, who can really fill in a lot of those, lead some of that stuff. A lot of people think that Chandler Riggs couldn't really do that anyway. They didn't like his acting prowess or just the way he played the role. So, you can understand for them. But for a lot of people, they liked Carl, and they liked seeing him, and not having him there really kind of narrows it down even more as to which characters you have that you can actually build, afterwards, should someone like Rick actually be killed off, or Andrew Lincoln want to leave, and put AMC and the team in a different situation. And also, of course, the question of how does he feel about the story now? How does he feel about the show now when he's seeing, Carl be killed off? This is a big thing, right? Because you see, okay, they play characters, right? But, they get really, when you play a character for a day or for a month or for one movie, you can get sometimes, obviously you're going to get into the role, and it can affect you psychologically. But if you're working on something for close to a decade every year for half the year or however long they're practicing, all this kind of thing, rehearsing and everything, thinking about it all the time, interviewing about it all the time, who you are in real life, of course, is separate from that character, but definitely what happens with that character in that series is going to psychologically, I would think, emotionally impact you as an actor, and really just kind of, your real life, you are, it's hard to keep them separate sometimes. I would think that sometimes they start to, I'm not an actor myself, but if you spend almost a decade, they start to kind of, people call you, or like Rick, if they see him walk down the street, they're like, it's Rick, or something, it's the lines between who you are in real life and who the character is that you embody in the biggest TV series, in the history of cable, pretty much in terms of ratings and everything. that's going to be tough. So is that going to have an emotional impact on him, seeing Carl being killed off? Let's read kind of the interview and go through. Link will be from comicbook.com in the description. Check it out, guys, because these are important interviews. If you love this series, you care about the series, and you kind of want to see what's going to happen in the future. So it says, with fewer original cast members on the show every season, is the time coming for Rick Grimesactor Andrew Lincoln to make a grand exit from The Walking Dead? Fans of the AMC series on social media are divided, with multiple types of conversations going on. Some fans defend the show against haters, claiming it is as good as it's ever been. Others simply suggest those who aren't enjoying stop watching, and 9 million of them have, it says in brackets, which is true. Some are on the offensive, sending hateful messages to showrunner Scott Kimball in the aftermath of another core cast member. Can you imagine if you like send it through like hate mail to Kimball going after him, right? Back out in season 8's mid-season finale and premiere episodes following a series of all-out war episodes, which have been disappointing for many. While Jeffrey Dean Morgan, of course, played Negan, assured comicbook.com he's in it for the long haul as the show's Negan, it's Andrew Lincoln who is beginning to sound a bit different for the first time, and it might have been sparked by the exit of Chandler Riggs. Quote-unquote, it says, this was the hardest. Losing Stephen Yeun was. The thought of the journey without Stephen in the cast was unbearable, but this, I didn't see it coming. Lincoln told comicbook.com of Chandler Riggs' departure. In fact, the actor completely froze up while on call with Gimple and learning the news for the first time. So then it says in quotes, Scott called me up and said, "You're going to hate this one. I want to just forewarn you." Lincoln said, even then, I was waiting to say, this is a really cool way of telling me that I'm off the show. You know that? That's what I thought he was about to say. He said, in quotes, "It's the kid." And then Andrew said, "I couldn't even say no. I was silent for a minute." He said twice, "Are you still there?" I just didn't see it coming. So he just, just like the rest of us, completely floored. Quite the crazy twist, a high-risk kind of move for the show, not kind of going with the grain type of regular, what you would expect to see from the series, something totally, off the wall, just against what your idea of what the show is, what the show is setting up, where the show is going, is totally shattered. And it sounds like Andrew Lincoln felt the same way as we did, if not more so, that just really crazy, just stunned that they were actually going to do this. And then it said, I wonder if he asked afterwards, are you sure you want to do this or something? At this point, Lincoln compares his work to standing on the edge of a pier, waving his friends off to sea. As he stays behind, Rick has lost the things that he's fighting this war for, Lincoln adds. That has a huge effect on him, and it changes him irrevocably. The interview was largely discussing the sour subject of Carl's death. Lincoln was, for the first time, sounding genuinely saddened by the events of the series. So let me just stop there for a second as well, too, because also, he's at the age now where, as a father, you're going to have that drive to want to protect your kids, right? And so when you're playing a character like this, I would think that instinctively, that could actually, activate that inner need to want to protect and to want to. So for him, you could see how torn he could be in this situation, because here you have, your boss or whatever, or you're the writer on the show, what have you, telling you this is where they're going with this, but, internally, because he's supposed to kind of protect him as a character, like that's in character. Rick is supposed to protect Carl. That's how it is. That's the way it always is. I'm sure on set, when they've done a lot of their stuff together, I guarantee you Andrew Lincoln has done a lot of kind of helping Chandler Riggs and being there, being a role model for him, being like a secondary father figure, on set and with regards to his job, right? Kind of helping him and everything like that. So it's gonna, I would think psychologically you're gonna activate possibly even a fight or flight response, because you're getting into a state here where he's going to kind of be defensive of even though it's a character, right? You're still gotta think that this is going to activate some kind of like, fatherly protective instinct that we all or all men, and especially around that age, would definitely have. So anyway, let's continue. The interview was largely discussing this. Okay, so then the closest comparison to the actor's tone in an interview with comicbook.com would be the back half of the Walking Dead 6th season, which led to Glenn and Abraham's death and a tough week at the office. Still, the actor was oozing with excitement for fans to see what was next back then. Riggs has only been fueling the fire for fans suspecting the end for Rick Grimes. That's possible too. Riggs told THR, "I haven't talked with him much about it, but I know that he has a family, that he leaves every year to come to Georgia for months and months to film The Walking Dead, leaving his kids back home in England. I know he's probably getting pretty tired." Then it says, as shocked as Lincoln was to learn Carl was being written out of the series, which turns out to be in favor of possibly keeping Negan alive, he also seems to be having conversations about the show's ending, which Riggs might have been around for. While Lincoln is not at liberty to reveal whether or not the end is actually near for Rick, he does tell the Hollywood Reporter that, in quotes, there deserves to be an endpoint. So, yeah, so they're looking at an endpoint. There needs to be an end game, and that is something that is definitely being talked about, Lincoln said. I can't get into all of that, but all of that will be answered. The argument of Rick is still alive in the comics goes right out the window. The argument of, and then it goes into with Carl's death. Carl is a prominent character in these books along with Andrea, but that's an entirely different story, who is simply written out by a Walker bite against the actor and his family's wishes, apparently. It was a creative decision which the showrunner takes complete responsibility for, and then it goes into a bit with the ratings sliding in the wrong direction and fans arguing amongst themselves in Scott Gimple's Twitter mentions, could the chatter be enough to drive Andrew Lincoln away from The Walking Dead? Many fans are calling for a change in the series following their lackluster reception of Season 8's first half, but surely Lincoln's exit is not the change they desire, but simply a more clear and concise story, driven by characters and mystery as the show in its best days. Then it's got the quote, "I'm very confident of a 10th season," Gimple assures THR when asked about the show's future and Lincoln's contract running out after Season 8. In quote-unquote, "I think it is a question, but there is some business to handle with the things you just said." So worth noting, Riggs had the option to return to the AMC series under his recent contract. It's the opposite problem with Lincoln, who will need to be renewed in the off-season, but an interesting fact nonetheless. Then it says, if they really plan on going for many years with the show, I can't see Andrew Lincoln sticking around for much longer. So that's some of the kind of comments from fans in that. So then there's one from Reddit user Q Knight Z who says, "Let's be real. When Lincoln goes, most of us who haven't already jumped ship will." It was a comment worth 207 upvotes in approval and a number of responses in agreement. I wouldn't be surprised if Andrew Lincoln didn't renew his contract past Season 8. So, yeah, some other fans giving their thoughts on that. And then they kind of just wrap up the article. So that's pretty much it for the article. You guys can definitely check it out. Very, very interesting. I like it not just because of the question of, whether or not he's going to re-sign this summer or, after Season 8 ends. I'm sure he will, to some degree anyway. Of course, some kind of maybe Season 10 or something like that, or what have you, and then see from there. But with regards to kind of the death and how he kind of feels about it, that's definitely an interesting one, and I never really thought about how that would affect Andrew Lincoln, and also how that affects Rick in the story too. Like you kill off Carl in order to have Rick allow Negan to survive onward, but at the same time, how does that affect Rick's motivations? And how does that affect, even Andrew Lincoln to want to play Rick? Because, also too, you kind of want to have a nice story as well, right? Like you want to have that be, if you look back to the first season, you see how things are shaping up, how things are going. you'd kind of want to have that. You kind of want to have a nice story as well too, even with some unpredictable deaths and all this kind of stuff going on. It's going to be interesting to see what Andrew Lincoln wants to do, and because could you see him cross with AMC for killing Carl off in such a way? Could you see him maybe be like, I just don't know about this one. I don't know how I feel about this one. They go through with it anyway, and maybe he goes along with it. It's really, really tough. Really, really tough stuff to try to speculate on and give our thoughts on. But I would say I don't think he's going to be. I think he'll re-sign to some degree. How expensive might it be for AMC to re-sign him? Well, if it's just like if they're planning on doing like 10 seasons or 11, just a couple more years, then, I wouldn't think it'd be that big of a deal for him to sign and kind of agree to do like a certain amount of episodes. Even if they had to reduce the number of episodes he was in or something, I'm sure that would probably be fine. But, yeah, man, it's just such a crazy move to kill Carl off this season. I really, even though we've done all these videos all week kind of giving our thoughts on it and trying to make sense of it, it's still kind of crazy. Even given all that, it's just kind of a crazy thing that they did. It's just something totally off the wall, and the repercussions of it, I do think, are vast. It's something where you make that decision, but then there's maybe to fix one problem you do that, but then there's all these other things that start coming up. How does Andrew Lincoln feel about this, and would he want to see this, and no, and just, are you going to lose his buy-in for actually even doing the show entirely? Because you see something like that, it's like, how much is too much, right? This kind of thing, it's like that might be too much, especially if you you bite into his protective father instincts here, right? So that we all have if we're in that situation, or if we were in that situation. So crazy stuff. It's cool at least to hear kind of how Andrew Lincoln felt when Rick found out how Rick felt about it. And man, that's crazy, man. That's really, really crazy. So I don't think he'll be leaving or anything like that. But what Chandler Riggs was saying is like, I don't know, man. Maybe there is a lot of truth to the season 10 thing. Maybe that's when they decide, because it's not the same as a comic. A comic, you just need a few people to want to keep going, and it's not that bad. But with a TV series, you have a huge cast involved. You can't recast Rick. You just can't do it. You either get Andrew Lincoln, you keep him on, you continue, or you kill him off. You really can't recast Rick Grimes of The Walking Dead. It's just not. It would be total trash if they did something like that. So they need to get him back. It might be a bit expensive to do it. I have to see what happens here, guys. This could be crazy, man. This could be. I just hope if they wrap it up in a couple seasons or something, that they wrap it up in a good way, and that we get still a satisfying ending, and we don't have to see some hacker slash ending where everybody dies or something. That would just wreck the show. You know what I mean? Like, it would wreck all those seasons, because like you put like 8 or 10 years of your life into watching the series just to see, everybody be killed off. There's got to be at least, half of them or so still standing. And at the rate they're going, it's like, man, who's going to be left standing at the end? There's a topic for video right there. So let me know what you guys think. Write your comments below. How do you feel about this one? Do you think Andrew Lincoln's still going to want to continue with the show after everything that's happened? And how much longer? What are your predictions for how long the series is going to last? Do you think season 10, 11, or do you think it can actually go on further? Write those comments. Let me know what you guys think. And if you like this video, please thumb it up below. You can share. You can favorite. If you're new and you want to subscribe, I would appreciate it. And you can do it at the bottom. That's it for this one. See you guys again soon for another video. As always, this is Trev, and I'm saying peace. See you guys soon.